Xana slid to the side, her spinning weapon redirecting the blade of her enemy away from her throat and harmlessly up over her shoulder. Its twin came in quickly from the other side at her hip, and she threw herself into a back handspring to avoid it, landing nimbly on her feet. Grimly, she realized that she'd never understood the true meaning of the term martial arts until now. The warrior assailing her had elevated the act of combat to its purest and highest form. He moved with the fluid grace of a dancer, his monstrous blade singing the deadly song of battle. He executed his moves with a perfect elegance born of obsession. Xana knew it left him vulnerable to other forms of attack, but he pressed her so relentlessly that she never had a chance to effectively gather her power. Had the Jedi enjoyed the same advantages Bane's Orbalisk armor provided, their encounter would have ended long ago. Bane could shrug off otherwise lethal blows, foregoing all sense of personal safety in a reckless assault of pure offense to overwhelm her defenses. In contrast, the man before her, massive though he was, would still die if her blades caught him. He had to guard against her counterattacks. His style less aggressive, so he didn't leave himself vulnerable. Even though his technique was more refined than her master's, she'd been able to withstand his assault, so far. He came at her again, his blade changing direction so quickly in mid-stroke that it seemed to bend and curve. Xana repelled the assault with a furious defensive flurry, breathing hard. Her style was meant to prolong combat, exhausting her opponents as they tried to penetrate her defenses. But each time she clashed with the olive-skinned giant, she was the one forced to expend desperate, frantic energy. Slowly, he was wearing her down. It was more than just his talent and training. Xana sensed some type of greater power at work. The force flowed through him as if it was being channeled by another, giving even greater strength to her opponent. Another exchange drove her backward. The man was cutting off the room, herding her tightly into the corner to limit her movement. He was taking away her agility, knowing she was no match for his strength, and there was nothing she could do about it. Taking another step back, she felt her heel butt up against the edge of the wall. There was nowhere left to go. The end was near. On the far side of the room, she heard Bane howl in rage, and she braced herself for a final stand she knew she couldn't survive. Her opponent spun the long, double-bladed lightsaber around his own body, gathering momentum for his next attack. And then suddenly, the power behind him, the force being channeled through him by another, was gone. Xana felt it disappear, snuffed out, like a candle in a puff of wind. The big man hesitated, casting a quick glance over toward the others to see what had happened. Seizing the opportunity, Xana's fingers flickered in strange patterns as she unleashed her Sith sorcery at her foe. His eyes went wide, and he stumbled away from her, his lightsaber swinging wildly at the air around him as he was beset on all sides by imaginary demons. Flailing in half-mad terror at the invisible monsters, he ignored Xana as she swooped in and ended his life with one long diagonal stroke across his muscular chest. As he fell to the ground, Xana turned her attention to Bane on the far side of the room. He was single-handedly battling 3 Jedi, slowly pushing them back toward where the Ithorian lay crumpled in a corner. Gathering the dark side around her, Xana created a concealing cloak to mask her power as she had done at the Jedi Temple. While she did so, she saw the Ithorian slowly rise to his feet and close his eyes in concentration. She felt the surge of light side energy rolling across the room, as did Bane's opponents. Suddenly invigorated, they backed her master up against the wall, concentrating their attacks on his face and the joints of his wrist where the Orbalisks had left tiny gaps in his armor. Xana rushed to her master's aid, coming up silently behind the Jedi. Her presence hidden by her spell of concealment, they never sensed her coming. She struck the Ichani down first, thrusting her blade forward so that it pierced the Jedi's back and ran her through. The Ichani cried out and slumped forward, dropping at Xana's feet. The men on either side half-turned toward her, momentarily forgetting the opponent directly in front of them. Bane took the opportunity to slice off the weapon hand of the man with the green lightsaber. He screamed and dropped to his knees, clutching his cauterized stump. The image pulled Xana's mind back to the cave on Ruusan, was she'd taken her cousin's hand. With a shake of her head, she dispelled the memory. Her distraction had given the young Jedi a chance to roll clear of the battle. Zannah hesitated, uncertain whether to finish him off or help her master against the man he was still battling. The question became moot a moment later, when Bane swatted the Jedi's golden lightsaber aside with his Orbalisk-encrusted left forearm, then removed his foe's head from his body with his lightsaber. In the corner, the Ithorian broke his meditative trance, sensing that his companions had fallen. But before he could act, Bane leapt through the air and landed in front of him, slashing all four of his throats simultaneously. The Ithorian crumpled to the ground, and Bane turned to finish off the one-handed Jedi. Zannah felt the gathering dark-side power of her master. But in the instant before he unleashed the storm of deadly purple lightning, the Ithorian reached up from the floor and clutched him by his ankle. A shimmering blue globe surrounded them both as the mortally wounded Jedi released his own power in his final dying act. Instead of arcing across the room to destroy the one-armed Jedi, the lightning that flew from Bane's fingers reflected off the inside of the shimmering blue globe, encasing him. The bolts ricocheted around wildly inside the globe, creating a storm of energy so intense that Zannah had to shield her eyes and look away. She heard Bane scream, rising above the sharp crackle of electricity, and when she looked back, she saw the globe vanish and her master fall to the ground in a charred and smoking heap. She started to run to him, then saw that the sole surviving Jedi was crawling toward where his lightsaber had fallen on the ground, determined to fight on despite the loss of his hand. Her face frozen in a mask of rage and hatred, she stepped forward and spun her lightsaber above her head. He looked at her with pleading eyes, but her only response was to bring her blade crashing down, ending his life.